I'm Coral. I am 68 years old.
My name is Kara. I am 43 years old.
I'm Amy. I am 46.
My name is Jamie. I'm 41.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm 45 years old.
Hi, my name is Katie. I am 52 years old.
I'm Angela. I'm 45.
I'm Nicole. I am 45.
Welcome back to Interwovxn's third season, featuring conversations centered on care and on celebrating and supporting women in middle life. We're thrilled this season to exchange support with In Context Inc., Not Your Mother's digital marketing agency. From customized websites to SEO, they work with you at your pace, within your budget, and ensure that you feel seen and heard at all times. Visit incontextseo.com/interwoven to learn more. Today's episode showcases a conversation between Angella and Nicole, friends of over 25 years, as they talk about their Midwestern upbringing, being gay in the 90s, the importance of chosen family, support and mental health care awareness, compassion, and learning self-care. A huge thank you to this month's featured musicians, Janet Ransdell and Susie Muehlbauer, for their contributions. Remember to hit subscribe so you can be the first to know about new episodes, and visit our website so that you can sign up for our newsletter, register for community events, and access all of our resources. Find us at interwoven.com. That's interwovxn.com.
Hi, I'm Angela. I'm 45. I'm a librarian. I'm married. I don't have any kids. I have 3 cats.
I'm Nicole. I am 45. I am a Cancer, Scorpio rising, Leo moon. I'm divorced. I have 2 dogs. I'm a homosexual. Angie, it's really, really great to sit down with you today. I couldn't be happier.
You too, buddy. It's nice to see you.
Let's tell our origin story.
Oh, gosh.
So we met in utero. Our mothers were pregnant together in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't meet again until 5th or 6th grade. We were playing basketball. We went to separate schools, but I played basketball at 2 schools because my mother is a maniac and I like playing basketball. And I was like, sure, that sounds normal to me. And it totally wasn't. So I would go to Angie's school and play basketball. And then sometimes if we'd play each other and I didn't know what team to be on, I was one of the shortest kids, and Angie was probably the tallest.
Yeah, and we played 6-on-6 basketball at my school. So it was half court, basically. So I was a guard, and Nicole was forward. Is that what they called you? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was pretty fun. So a lot of what I did in 6th grade was somebody Nicole's height would shoot the ball and I would grab it out of the air before it hit the basket. I thought it was
She was
cool.
Her height was intimidating, as was her amazing fluffy mullet. Later on, we met in high school our junior year over spring break. We're both at different schools. We both went on the same,
it's called the UN trip,
to Washington, D.C. and New York City. And it was sold to me as somebody that was interested in government or politics or economics. And that was definitely me. My dad's a history teacher, and I was definitely conservative.
And an obvious queer, which was really funny.
And like the gayest person you'll ever meet. Like non-binary in the 90s. Just egregiously gay, but very conservative. So I went on the trip, and Angie, you went on the trip too.
I did, but we were on different sides. One side
went
went to New York first, and one side went to DC first. I went to DC first. Nicole went to New York first. I ended up sitting on the bus the whole way with one of Nicole's good friends. And then we were like inseparable. Nicole ended up befriending someone from my school. So when we came back,
we had a big get together
at the Burger King.
Those were our options then.
Yep. I think you worked with my brother too, didn't you?
Yes, I
actually met my brother first.
I worked with her brother, who's her twin, and I had a crush on him. And I just thought he was so cute because he was really tall and I loved him. It was like we were friends and we started hanging out.
There was a point that I was like, oh my gosh, I've seen this person every single day. But I stopped hanging out with the person who had been my best friend because of something that happened at the Burger King.
Do you want to talk about that?
She had anger issues.
This is your friend that you hung out all the time.
This is my friend that I hung out with all the time.
You brought to this get-together that was
because she also went on the UN trip.
So it was like you and your best friend.
Some other people from my school that I was friends with and she wasn't.
And then me and my best friend who ended up being your best friend on this trip.
Yes.
So it was some like BFFs from 2 different schools meeting at the Burger King in Des Moines, in the big city.
Yeah, in the
so
big
we
city,
were like
the capital city.
OUT out at the Burger King in Des Moines.
We both are from a place called Warren County that's sort of rural. I spilled a drink and I was laughing and having a good time. And she was yelling at me that if my drink got on her Liz Claiborne purse, then I was in trouble. And I just laughed and ignored her. The Burger King soft drink touched her purse and she picked it up and went into the bathroom.
And was gone for
a while.
The point where we were like, okay, we're a group of teenage girls out of control, high on Dr. Pepper, like Whoppers. And we were like, hey, she's been in there for a really long time, like 20, 25 minutes.
When we went in, she had trashed the bathroom because she was so angry. So I didn't speak to her for a while after that. And that's when Nicole became my bestest friend. And then on the last day of our junior year of high school, we had a camp out in Nicole's backyard. And we were in a tent. At that point in time, we ended up kissing each other. And then we ended up being in a romantic relationship.
We were boyfriend, girlfriend.
We were boyfriend and girlfriend.
On and off for 3 years.
On and off for 3 years. We ended up breaking up with each other right before sophomore year of college, basically because to me it was more important to maintain our friendship than to try to continue what seemed to be a doomed romantic relationship.
No, you were right. And it was our sophomore year of college, but it was my first year at the University of Iowa. I had gone to a junior college. Yeah, then we broke up like the day before school, which is a current plot in the L Word right now, which was very triggering for me. But it was good because we were so bonded, not only as a couple. I mean, we weren't out. We were
trauma bonded. We weren't allowed to.
We were not. And by our parents, both of our parents would have reacted.
Oh, I was point blank asked and told that I would be sent away. So then I lied. That's the other interesting thing is our parents are like at opposite ends of the age spectrum. And when Nicole says we met in utero, there's more to that story. And it's that my mother, who at the time was 16 years old and pregnant with twins, was the student of her father and her mother, who worked at the same school as teachers. Her mother was my mother's Spanish teacher and my guidance counselor.
Yes, my mom used to be a Spanish teacher and had Angie's mom as a student who was pregnant with her and her brother, while my mother, her Spanish teacher, was pregnant with me. Then my mom went on and got a master's in counseling and became the guidance counselor.
The 90s were rough.
We were trauma bonded, so it wasn't just like if you break up with your high school sweetheart and it's the worst thing that ever happens to you. Your first heartbreak is like the worst. Add upon that though, no one else in my life knows that I'm gay or that I've been in a relationship with this person for 3 years, and that's a lot of pressure. You're totally isolated and lying to your family, your siblings, your friends, everyone.
Just not yourself anymore.
But the split really was hard for me. There's no doubt when I walk into a room then and now that I am definitely gay.
Are you trying to say you're a 100-footer?
I'm a 100-footer. Like you can tell from 100 feet that I'm not a straight person. For Angie, she was very strikingly beautiful with very long hair, passed very easily for being straight.
On glance.
So yeah, we're bonded together. We have been our entire adult lives.
And we lived together now in the same city for the first time in, it's been about 3 years, is that right?
It's been about 3 years since we live in the same city.
And that's the first time since we lived in the same city shortly after college.
But we're always on the phone. We talked on the phone every day. I am a severe introvert. I was married for 13 years. I don't think I'll ever live with anybody else ever again. Like I love being alone. I always have. I grew up pretty isolated. I find it really difficult to spend a lot of time with a lot of people. And so for me, our relationship is a friendship first.
Nicole doesn't have a very supportive family.
Well, that's a nice way to put it. Not being supportive is putting it very mildly. So yeah, I don't spend a lot of time with my family. I'm expected to be part of the family, but I'm verbally abused. Like I'm going to go to hell, immoral.
Please come hang out with us.
Please take me to the doctor appointment while I tell you how you're going to burn in fake eternal hell forever. I work from home and I love my coworkers, but I don't speak to them very often. Angie spends a lot of time being my support and family and best friend. I think she's really lucky to have me.
Oh gosh. Nicole's also my family. And I think that, we've had that relationship for a long time.
I was hospitalized for depression and anxiety. Really bad depression my entire life.
And at that point, I think you were living in Austin full time and your wife was still working in DC and living there part time and in Austin with you part time, correct?
Correct.
I wasn't physically present there. We talked a lot during that time, but shortly after that, you moved to the Twin Cities and I lived in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Which was great. That was very exciting for us because we lived in the same vicinity, the same region.
And that lasted for about 2.5 months. I'd gotten my graduate degree in 2013 and had moved to La Crosse for a non-librarian academic library role. This was a big opportunity for me.
At the time, you couldn't say no.
So my plan was to come back for 5 years with my partner. Nicole's lived everywhere. She lived in New York. She lived in Chicago. She lived in DC.
Richmond, Virginia.
Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City,
Twin Cities. So I moved. Nicole stayed in the Twin Cities with her wife.
And I was like, I can't believe you're moving to Des Moines, but you couldn't not do it.
And I was like, it's still only 4 hours away and your family's here. And now you can stay with me
and
see your family.
That was
so that's pretty awesome. And that's what happened. For about the first 2 years I lived here.
Yep.
I got married about a year after we moved here and we bought a house and got married within 2 months of each other.
Yep.
Nicole would come and stay, sometimes with her wife.
And then, ta-da, I got a divorce very quickly, very unexpectedly, and had been struggling with depression for a very long time.
Yeah, you also had a major surgery and almost died. It was the two things together that were pretty devastating.
Listen, I am a mover and a shaker. I'm a rock and roller. I got to move around. I got to do it hard.
Nicole's gangrenous appendix was removed from her body. I'm surprised she didn't die.
I didn't feel well for a while, and so I tried to ride my bike to feel better because that's what my wife told me to do. I also decided that the best thing to do is also get a latte because that would make me feel better, and it turns out if you're septic,
lattes aren't good.
Lattes don't help. So yeah, I had surgery to remove it, and then
it took a good 6 weeks for you to even...
I was already on a lot of medication for my brain, my depression. I was just really sick. I was physically not well.
It was one of those, oh my God, I almost died, you realized 3 weeks after the whole thing happened. I don't think you realized it at the time, but I think afterwards...
It takes a while, so I like to stuff things down when I'm not busy, which is working out really well. Fast forward to 2018, where you live in Des Moines, you are working at the library. You're not psyched about your work environment and you're living with your now wife in your house that you've purchased.
Nicole thinks I've made it.
You made it. You from
a Warren County point of view, I sure did.
From a Warren County point of view, and on paper, if you were at this point in 2018 run into your 17-year-old self on the street, you'd be like, sweet.
You think?
I would hope so. I think your 17-year-old self would be surprised, but not disappointed.
Okay.
I'm really proud of you.
In 2018 or right now?
Both. It's both, and I tell you that all the time because I love bragging about you. Bootstraps. You did it. You went through some financial issues, some setbacks, and you just kept going. And yeah, you should be really proud of yourself. You have a really nice home. You have 3 cats that run your life. The level of care these cats receive, it makes me physically ill. So yeah, I'm very proud of you. I think that there's more to come. It's 2018. This is now I am married and I live in a house. We own a house in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I am very depressed. I am working as a maid part-time, 30 some hours a week because I can't get a job. I'm a graphic designer and I'm also too depressed to get a job.
She's so depressed. It's what she needs so bad she can't get because it's so hard when you're in that state.
Yeah, I mean, I was depressed where you can tell
it emanates off of her.
100-footer again.
100-footer.
Not only gay, depressed, gay, non-binary. It was bad, and it was for a while. I actually came to Des Moines to visit Angie. Go back home, and it's Tuesday, and my wife's like, "Hey, on Saturday I cheated on you. I don't love you anymore, and I don't want to talk about it.
And I said, you need to get in the car and come back.
Yep.
You don't need to stay there. You don't need to be around that. You don't need to torture yourself. So she did.
So I did. I came back. I couldn't stay with my family, but I had nowhere to go.
Nicole ends up living with me.
And Angie's wife, who's like graciously okay. Like Angie's wife is a saint. And I've told her that. I ended up staying for 2 months. And then I went back to the Twin Cities. I was having a really hard time, as you can imagine. Like I had no money.
She was working for her brother-in-law, ripping carpet out of houses he was flipping. So there was a little bit of destruction going on.
I'm in St. Paul. I'm back in St. Paul. And Angie is like checking on me all the time. She's like, yeah, you're going to have to come back here. Like, and so then I came back and I had to live with them again. And so Angie has become my like sole caretaker. Well, again, the point is that you spent more than anyone can imagine the amount of energy physically helping me move stuff. I mean, the emotional caretaking was life-saving, and I don't say that lightly. Now it's 2020, and I'm still depressed from my divorce, then the pandemic, and it was like too much. The isolation was way too much, and
she got laid off, let go from her temp to hire job.
So then I couldn't pay my bills, and I was like super depressed anyway, and I ended up spending the summer of 2021 in the county mental hospital.
She was freaking out about things. You were having problems too because you had an attempt to hire a job, so you didn't get very good healthcare coverage, and you had issues that you needed to address that cost a lot of money. And the combination of that and the isolation and resulted in checking yourself.
I needed an attitude adjustment, and I got one at the county hospital.
Once she got out, things got into a really stable place very quickly, which was really impressive to me.
Yeah, I've got a great job. I love it.
She's got a great job. She's got a new apartment.
She has depression, and it's
hard for me when Nicole has ultra major depression because, and I've learned to do this over the course of our 25 plus year friendship, but I used to take a lot of things personally in general. One of my growing things is to learn to not take things personally. When Nicole gets really depressed and is angry, mean, bitter, apathetic, any of the things, suicidal, I have to think about how it's Nicole's depression talking to me, not Nicole. Like, I think that in the past year and a half, we've had a lot of growth independently and together, and we've had to kind of navigate new boundaries and terrain in our relationship. There have been a couple bumps. I think I am currently medicated for the first time, 15 years or something like that. We've both been diagnosed, like most of the women in the United States in middle age, have been diagnosed with ADHD this year. Nicole thinks I've always had it, and then she got diagnosed with and treated for it before me, which I thought was hilarious.
It is hilarious. You are hyperactive. I'm not hyperactive. I can sit still, but I'm not listening to you.
I can sit still, but I have to totally disassociate. That's how I got through elementary school. Most of what I did in elementary school was try to be the first one to get my worksheet done and then sit in the chair and stare into space and rock. That was kind of what I did.
I think it's like our relationship is just like everyone else's going through this pandemic and finding out what we're all really made out of. We're both in therapy. We are both people that are curious about the world and life and how it works. And I think both of us were surprised to find out or actually realize that that's not necessarily true for the majority of people that we know.
Yeah, I think to treat people the way that people treat each other, like you have to be completely disassociated and disconnected.
You have to shut it off.
You have to objectify people. And in order to objectify people to that level that you can treat them the way that other people do, I think you're doing it to yourself. It's hard to deal with that. I think that I excuse people's behaviors a lot more than Nicole does, knowing that, but I have to be able to navigate the world. It's like if I am driving somewhere or shopping, like I can't think, they're doing that to me on purpose when they're driving and they're trying to cut me. And it's like, they're not thinking about you at all. Like they're just doing their thing and you're in their way. And so I think there's a lot of that inner talk that I do where I have to have a lot of compassion for people in order to make it through errands.
People are traumatized. Every person on the globe, on the planet at the same time is traumatized. We have all these tools to connect us, to talk about it globally.
But then you're still supposed to go on with your own life as normal. And I think that's a lot of what's contributing. Like, I think everybody's burned out emotionally. So I feel like I'm up against a society that doesn't value the same, doesn't share my values, and doesn't support me in a way that would make me continue to become more mentally healthy or grow in that way. It's more stifling. It's more like, just stop your whining and get back to work, I feel like is sort of the attitude.
That's a very true statement. And a lot of this country has sort of moved on from that mindset because they have to survive. And I mean, we're ranked 49th in mental health.
What are you doing right now for self-care, Nicole?
I didn't grow up knowing what self-care was. I have two parents that can't take care of themselves or each other. I have learned self-care through my time in therapy and my hospital stays. And it has been a tremendous life-changing education. I learned DBT in the hospital, dialectical behavioral therapy. It is life-changing, I think, for anybody. I can't imagine that it wouldn't help. It's rooted in Zen Buddhism, and it's very simple and effective. And I would recommend it to literally every single person on the planet. I have been working really hard to learn about somatic markers and the physical connection to my mental health. I have 2 dogs. I have a lot of aquariums, like 6 aquariums that are filled with critters.
And plants. Aquaculture is a big thing.
Yeah, I do aquascaping, which is like a thing that has existed for a long time in Japan. I love planted aquariums. They're very calming. Aquariums scientifically lower your blood pressure. And playing with plants is never not fun. I get to enjoy nature. I live in an apartment, so I don't have a yard or a garden, which I would love. So I brought it inside. There are living boxes of water all over my apartment, and it's definitely my happy place. I spend a lot of time maintaining them, and it's just a meditation. But they're all specific meditations, and it's great. I'm glad I found it, and it goes with my lifestyle. And it took me a long time to figure out what makes me feel better in the world, and I'm still figuring it out. Tell me, Angie, what are you doing, or what do you do to practice self-care?
Well, I think the number one thing that I do for self-care is to go to therapy. And I think it is because I am a person who has been trained by my parents to do everything really hard, just to go hard. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand things like physical limits or how to modulate myself. I've been in PT pretty consistently for injuries for about, 3 years. So like one of the things that I do for self-care is to walk. I've been having an issue with a hip because I'll walk like 4 or 5 miles at a time. And so I've been told, you need to keep it to 1-2 miles at a time and do something else instead. I garden, that I have a tendency to sit in strange positions and bend forward until I can't walk the next day, but I don't realize it at the time. So I'm learning to, like Nicole, take cues from my body more. My therapist calls it interoception. So like learning to understand when I'm locked in and hurting myself, I guess. I mean, I think you can do it mentally, you can do it physically. The two play with each other. There's emotionally, I have a tendency to go beyond my limits, and I'm starting to recognize at this point in my life that there's a cost for that. So I think we're all told, go 110%. And that's okay in a moment, but if we do that as a culture, where that's what we expect from people the whole time they're working, like that 10% has to come from somewhere. Because I do even my recreational activities hard, I don't get the restoration that I should. So I'm trying to learn that. And I think a big way to do that is with boundaries. And I think I don't know if this is normal for people, but I have to set boundaries for myself, not just for other people. It's mostly about expectations. So I feel like I have to manage the expectations I have for myself first. And I think that most of the conflict in my life that I have, and I would say that it's with my spouse more than anybody probably, and then maybe my family of origin, when I have tried to have a boundary that I don't want to push myself in this way because it's too much for me right now. But this is how you've always been, and this is how I've known you for the past 15 years. Then to try to have that change is difficult and causes conflict, I think. I think that's a challenge right now in my current relationship.
Yeah. What would be a self-care goal?
I'm a pretty introspective person, and I require a lot of time alone. But I don't like big groups and loud things for very long. It's funny to me because Nicole's so introverted, but she'll at 45 years old go to a rave until 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that. I couldn't do that. I would go crazy. Standing up for myself, that's the best thing that I've done. And that's what I mean by boundary setting and saying, no, I need this. And not changing what I'm doing to appease that other person. Choosing myself first. It's really hard as women, I think, to do that, especially in the Midwest. Especially as, aspiring to upper middle class white family that I came from. That was one of the biggest put downs. Yes. It was something that was used to control me.
Yes.
And now I'm trying to reclaim that, but in the best possible way. And I think also self-care is hard because the term has been overplayed at this point and gets turned into so many different things. It doesn't just mean to go buy whatever you want. I think it's more about doing things that restore me. Taking the opportunity to figure out what that is something that's hard for most women to do, even if they don't have children. Because I think that's, you're either taking care of your parents or your children. I'm not doing either.
Or your husband.
Or your husband.
I know queer people that have a very heteronormative, it's not for me.
It's not for me either. So, they're both happy.
But yeah, if you're happy and that's what you like, go for it.
I'm trying to figure out how to have more creative pursuits in my life. I think that I've been so busy first trying to start my career and then buying a home. And I don't want that to be everything I do, to go to work and do chores and to carve that space out for myself and feel okay about it. I think I feel guilty about it.
You started traveling again. I saw you get a joy out of traveling that I haven't seen you with for many years. That was really nice to see. I want to write a TV show. I want to get rich. I want to be villain. I want to be a villain. I want to be the bad guy. Angie, I'm glad you're my best friend.
I'm glad you're my best friend.
I can't wait to call you on the phone in 2 hours and tell you about my lunch plans.
After a nap.
After my nap. After my afternoon depression nap.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we had this conversation.
Yeah. Did you learn anything?
I mean, I think we're lucky to be ride or die. We do talk about it. We're both very lucky to have each other. All right, buddy. Well, I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. We invite you to hit subscribe and to keep coming back each week for a new empowering conversation. We look forward to seeing you at our website, where you'll find our newsletter, event dates, and other amazing resources. Visit interwoven.com, that's interwovxn.com, to sign up today. This show's copyright is January of 2023. We want to thank In Context Inc., digital marketing agency, and the Sugar Maple Bar for their support this season, as well as our producers, Teresa Kopak, Rebecca Jankowski, and Jen Gilmore. All original music was created and performed by Janet Ransdell and Susie Muehlbauer.